हेलो फ्रेंड्स। आज मैं एक वीडियो रिलीज कर रहा हूँ। दो पार्ट में इस टॉक ऑफ द मंथ जो है डिस्कस होने वाला है। फर्स्ट पार्ट में मैं ये वीडियो का वो पोर्शन रिलीज कर रहा हूँ जिसमें इसके पे एक फंडामेंटल व्यू आपको पता चल जाएगा और किस रीजन से मैंने इन्वेस्ट किया था अराउंड मई 2024 में, यानी कि आज से 5-6 महीने पहले। तो उसमें जो क्या चल रहा था वो मैंने शेयर किया हुआ है और प्रेजेंटली भी मैं इसको खरीद रहा हूँ और इस पे एक डिटेल डिस्कशन मैं पार्ट 2 में रिलीज करूंगा जिसमें इस पे अपडेट्स आएंगे। बट आई थिंक यू विल गेट गुड इनफ मटेरियल फॉर यू टू डेवलप अ फंडामेंटल व्यू ऑन दिस कंपनी जिसका नाम है सिनर्जी ग्रीन इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी सेक्टर है, काफी इंटरेस्टिंग बिजनेस है। बताइएगा कमेंट में आपको कैसा लगा।
Which we have bought recently, not a big chunk, but yes, we are nibbing into it slowly. Synergy Green is basically a power sector proxy. So just a question, just to answer Arun's questions, we are more interested into proxies right now because the benefit of investing into a proxy is that even though we are not sure that the market leader will do well or not, because market leader or other players, 3-4 players, every industry has 3-4 players. Transmission may be an exception where majority player is PGCIL, Power Grid, and number 2 are slightly distant, Adani and all, or Sterlites and all. But generally speaking, when we speak about going on a proxy, reason is that we don't know which out of those four will do better than other. So that's why we choose to go with a company which is a proxy on all three, all four. That's the idea behind going for proxy. So today I'm talking about wind sector in general and what is happening in wind. And last year also we had discussed this sector when it was turning around and we invested into Suzlon. Suzlon maybe we went 70% also, turned into 16 and sold at 27 or something like that. But that time there was a margin of safety was there because at 16 and the sector turning around, it was slightly stated to do well. So we took that bet and we made quick 1 month may around 60-70%. But I did not followed it on Suzlon because of the crowd effect and the frenzy it has to take in order to Suzlon to do well, which actually it took, but nobody could have predicted that that market would take a story like Suzlon, which was a dead meat actually. So business fundamentals are not strong, but market has its way of picking up even a dead meat to on its throne. So that's why. But we choose not to invest into Suzlon at a higher valuation, which is not high if you look at hindsight. But for us, there was no margin of safety. So that was our brief stint with a wind sector per se. But indirectly, we have been invested, and you may not know it, but people who have bought PT Engineering, they are indirectly invested into this theme, indirectly, partially, because PT Engineering has less than 10% exposure to renewable, which is basically wind. So indirect exposure through PT we already have on wind, and this is a direct exposure on wind. So if we know PT business model is similar to that to certain extent. This company based out of Kolhapur. Name is Synergy Green Industries. Why it caught my attention? Because this company had a good marquee client. One of the most important client which I look for when I see a clientele is if somebody has a client like, let's say, ABB or Siemens, because I know that Siemens and all, they have a very huge list of criteria before they get into a supply chain of a company. So Siemens was a main client of theirs, and even PT Engineering has Siemens as their client. Gamesha is a Siemens company, which is they have now, which now they are selling because of Siemens has acquired it and could not do well with them in terms of integration and in terms of letting them run. They kind of controlled it, and that's why Gamesha is no more the best wind manufacturing company in India. Siemens and Gamesa are linked. We have to see the Adani already here. Siemens value chain is one important thing. So this company supplies 85% of their product to wind, so overall 15% to gearbox and pumps. So largely gearbox is 10% maybe or 5% pumps hoga. Second is gearbox, and gearbox mein the biggest player is ZF. ZF I know because ZF supply to Tata Motors also their gearbox, and they are top notch, best in class gearbox. So they are the market leader. ZF is a global market leader. So gearbox when they've got the great company. Siemens is also a great company. And I'm not sure about the mining client. I've not heard much about them. But this is gearbox. I'm more sure of their clientele and their wind. So around 95% clientele I'm sorted. That even GE Renewable Energy which is number 3 4 into India in terms of wind turbine manufacturing. So GE is also there, and Nordex ex Iona is a Spanish company, not doing really well. Nordex, I don't know. Nordex must is doing well. I keep hearing about them. Acciona was not doing well. That I don't know whether they merged or so. Senmion is a company which is doing well. Senmion, their business is also growing. Kirloskar Group is there, which is there in the pump. So Kirloskar is also a good name. They are at least in pump sector. So they have a good clientele. So whole thing is that if you have a good clientele, you are sorted with the market risk, because investing in a proxy is beneficial if you have a good clientele, and this company seems to have one. So that's why that's the beauty of this stock. So now let's get into the sector, which is the wind. So wind sector mein, if we see the market share, company export also. So we are looking at the global picture of wind turbine manufacturers, dominated by Chinese company. Goldwind is Chinese, Envision is Chinese. These are obviously Chinese. Vindage Chinese, Sany Chinese, CRR Chinese. So out of 10, 5, 6 are Chinese. Very well. Still the list in 2023 also continued. Almost in top 15 की list में भी वही लोग हैं mostly. You don't see any Suzlon or Inox here. Inox तो खैर बहुत दूर है. Suzlon is also not there, because the minimum criteria to hit this scoreboard was 1.8 gigawatt. Even the whole country put together, FY23 had produced around 2 gigawatt. So Suzlon would have produced 1 gigawatt, maybe less than 1 gigawatt. So that's why they are not in the list. Other clientele. So the green color is customer on board. So Vestas is a big number 2. And it has 12.3 gigawatt. And if we see the yearly performance, so Vestas and slightly reduced 12.3 से 11.5 यहाँ पे माइनस हुआ है. GE is also number 3, global number 3. GE भी थोड़ा सा reduce हुआ है. ये दोनों में माइनस हुआ है, but rest of their clients like Siemens Gamesa 6.8 से Siemens Gamesa SGRE is the same 9.7. So this has gone up. So net if you map everything, yellow buttons like Nordex and Envision. So I'll talk about Envision specifically. Nordex has also grown 4.7 to 6.4. So again, there is a growth. So net I've checked that their clientele has kind of grown by volume terms year basis पे 10% का growth उनका over portfolio level पे. All these clients have grown. So they are sitting with good clients which are growing. That's the summary of this. Interestingly, Envision and Nordex are customer onboarding in progress. So FY24 में they have been onboarded. अभी अगले साल full numbers आएंगे. I'll talk about Envision specifically, and there is one more company which is called Renew. Renew is an Indian IPP. Renew, Yashwant Sinha's son, Jayant Sinha's company. Sinha was the ex-FM of India. So ये Renew भी काफ़ी well funded, well capitalized company है, और वो लोग भी wind में आ रहे हैं, तो उसको भी ये लोग onboard कर रहे थे. So this was somewhere mentioned in there. और Renew की भी थोड़ी बहुत capacity है. So Adani, Renew, these are new clients for them. So in a way Adani is also jumping into it. Adani, I suspect थोड़ा सा उनका कोई capacity था भी जो वो supply कर रहे थे. तो Adani, Renew are other two. For Indian context, these are important names. In global context, they don't stand a chance anywhere. Market share will grow from 10 to 15% maybe if we'll add up Renew and all. Clients' market share would grow. I mean, I'm saying that put together, there are 10 clients, there are 5 clients or 7 clients. They were having, let's say, X gigawatt. So this year in FY24, it would be 1.1x gigawatt or 1.15x gigawatt. So this is kind of volumetric gain they should get because of their clients. Their main product is wind product, as I said, 85%. So wind turbine mein this tower is there. So tower they make, so which is a volumetric thing, which is one of the most weight wala cheez. Blade is also heavy. So these two are major volume thing. And then they also make machined product in a gearbox. So wind turbine में भी gearbox होता है. This is the gearbox. So since they supply to ZF and all, which are automotive gearbox companies, they also supply to wind turbine gearbox. So यहाँ पे तो उनका edge होगा, I think, I suspect. And ये सब hub casting जो hub होता है. This is called nacelle. Nacelle is the heart of wind turbine. So nacelle में भी their component goes. Nacelle के अंदर में ये सारी चीजें हैं. This is all this gearbox and all. So this is the whole nacelle. उसके अंदर ये सारा system है. This whole thing is inside this nacelle. Almost they can make the wind turbine themselves if they want to. I mean, with some additional and all. but they are a supplier to all the wind turbine makers. Moving on to the numbers. 6 months back, they have projected their top line. FY23 ka to actual hai, this is actual number, and this was a projected number. So the company has grown from 200 to 290 in 2 years, which is a 40% 45% growth in 2 years. So which is a good jump. Top line growth hai यहाँ पे, and even 340 अभी actually में 325 आया है. So again, not so high as expected, but ठीक है. 290 to 325 is also more than 10% growth. So the top line has not grown as we expected because of certain reason which I'll explain, but it has grown. अब इसमें रेवेन्यू मिक्स देखना इज इम्पॉर्टेंट कि स्ट्रीम्स कैसे कैसे प्रोजेक्ट से आ रहा है, कहाँ से आ रहा है. तो विंड डोमेस्टिक इज ग्रीन, सो विच हैज़ फॉर्म्ड बेस लाइक 200 में 36 था. अभी भी ये 100 करोड़ वो विंड टर्बाइन, देसी विंड टर्बाइन से बना रहे हैं देसी मार्केट में. और 105 इज OEM एक्सपोर्ट. सो OEM बेसिकली लार्जली विंड टर्बाइन वाले ही हैं कि वेस्टास जो है दिस इज अ ग्लोबल प्लेयर, नॉट जस्ट इंडिया. दे मेक विंड टर्बाइन फॉर स्पेन, फॉर अमेरिका एंड एनीवेयर. दे आर नंबर 2 ऑल्सो इन ग्लोबली. सो उन लोगों के को डीम्ड एक्सपोर्ट आप कह सकते हो, उनके थ्रू एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं. सो 105 विच इज इक्वली लाइक 33% यहाँ से आ रहा है, 30 अराउंड नियरली 33% is domestic plus 33% export, and then 20 is direct export, so they are exporting directly also. So you can see that 35% is the export volume, indirect export volume, and this 40 crore is gearbox. As I said, gearbox is important volume, so 10%, more than 10% is gearbox, and 75 is non-wind. This must be other pump and all and other things which has grown significantly. So ये भी 33 से 75 हुआ है. So they are also expanding on non-wind part portfolio also. It has more than doubled. So देखा जाए तो top line तो double नहीं हुआ, 200 से 400 नहीं हुआ, but they have grown from 33 crores of non-wind portion to 75. So which means we are betting it on as a wind supplier, but non-wind portion is also growing. So we are not tracking it very closely, but numbers suggest that they should do well. So actually this is a projected number. So अभी ये 75 था कि 70 था, but at least in projections they are confident of making that number. So looks good to me. अब since we know the project, so we understand this ये जो blade है और जो tower है, all these are made up of basic element like pig iron and steel. This has come from their presentation जो कि September 23 के presentation में है. तो वहाँ पे उन्होंने raw material का trend दिया था कि has been reducing from let's say from March 67 से 45 पे आ गया था September 23 तक, बट वी हैव मूव टू द नेक्स्ट ईयर. तो इसके बाद आगे क्या हुआ है, सो उसका डेटा उन्होंने दिया नहीं, बट आई ट्राई टू एनालाइज कि एक साल में स्टील प्राइसेस वेयर दे हैव बिन. सो इफ़ वी सी सेप्टेम्बर हियर, सेप्टेम्बर वाज लाइक 38 रुपीज़ पर के जी, 3800 से अभी 3600 है एज वी स्पीक. सो रफली इट हैज़ बिन फ्लैट. अगर इस कर्व को हम एक्सपैंड करते, अगर ये पिछले वाले कर्व को, तो ये मतलब आई मीन इसी लेवल पे अभी हम लोग हैं. सो वी आर एट पार, मतलब कि वी आर इट्स लाइक दैट दिस लाइन इज ऑलमोस्ट फ्लैट, विच इज़ गुड. सो किसी भी इंडस्ट्री में इफ़ योर रॉ मटेरियल प्राइसेस आर स्टेबल, which is good for you to do business, and obviously company can play their shots, and it would be good environment, business environment for them to do business, because उनका negotiation हमेशा नहीं कि प्राइस को लेकर के negotiate करना is not a very good exercise for anybody, for either customer or for them also. So price stability is good. So obviously I chose to invest into a company where the steel is a raw material, because steel prices will go up only when China starts consuming steel. अगर वो ज़्यादा कंज्यूम नहीं कर रहा है, then I'm safe. So this is a one sector जहाँ पे कि steel is a raw material which I am largely bearish on. So steel पे I am bearish, so that's why I am more comfortable on buying into a company which is consuming steel as a raw material, and the number also suggests so. So it's not just about raw material prices softening, it's also about the main lever is coming from capacity addition. So let's talk about the capacity. So capacity is defined in metric tons. The company has FY20 तक 30,000 metric ton capacity, which they are expanding slowly to 45,000. अभी भी ये actually ये this stat has come from September 23 का investor presentation. So they have not literally achieved 45, but they are somewhere in between. Maybe exactly they cannot put a number, but somewhere like this. let's call it 37 and a half, because they are in between. They have not done yet. This is the one worry, one concern for me, that they had tried to do this. They had spoken that they will do 45,000, so which is 50% capex kind of in a way. और उसके बाद के भी उनके प्लान है कैपेक्स का, वो फ्रॉम 45 to 75 in 26. सो 2 साल में फिर, तो 2 साल बाद फिर 30-40% एक्सपैंड करेंगे. And again they have ambitions to go to 1 lakh also. If we literally buy what the company is saying, that is going from 30,000 MT to 1 lakh MT in FY27, which I am sure कि 27 तक तो नहीं आएगा. Maybe if at best case it would go maybe 28, 29, whatever it is. I'm not banking on that number, but this is the overall capacity addition they are planning to do. And the company has been expanding from 30 to 45. So अभी first expansion leg में ही है. But the thing is that this is a foundry, and foundry में expand करना is not easy. And because I have studied Mahindra's business model, who are good foundry, so they have grown through acquisition. So इसमें बनाना, कोई भी plant बनाना is slightly tough, क्योंकि उसमें foundry को set करना is very, it is time consuming thing. So that's why I'm not expecting कि ये तुरंत कर लेगा, because by nature it's a tough job. They have taken upon themselves a tough project. And they are saying that they will do a greenfield expansion of 55,000 MT during next 3 years. जो ये वाले jump की बात मैं कर रहा हूँ 1 lakh की. So which is slightly far. This is a brownfield expansion. So चलो उसमें land का cost नहीं है. So in a way it is achievable. They have given a projections in September 23 कि they will do 340 from 290, and then again 440 in FY25. So which is a decent projection considering that they will be able to expand their capacity. And they said that with higher sales and stable raw material prices, which we think is quite possible, 12 to 14% EBIT is estimated. So अभी इनका EBIT जो है against 290 FY23 में 290 के against 226 crore का EBIT है, which is less than 10%. So around 10% से they are saying कि it will go from 10 to 12-14%. यहाँ पे this would be like 12%. Actually अभी उन्होंने 12% का मार्जिन तो किया है, although their top line did not meet 340, but they did 12% margin. So margin पे तो they are okay, they are performing well, and 12 to 14 maybe. This is a slightly ambitious maybe. मतलब वो भी possibility है 12 to 14%. Now let's compare it with the, as I said, the PT. PT is a good company, and it has around 4 times bigger than SGIL. So when we picked up PT, it was bigger than SGIL, market cap wise also. But yeah, it was comparable to SGIL when we picked up PT 1 year back. From there it has become 2.5 times. I think PT में क्या हुआ है, let's take that learning. So this is the 3-year CAGR. So PT में I'll just tell the difference between PT and SGIL broadly, that PT does the same thing, but it does for 5 other sectors. So most importantly for railway. So PT is more of a proxy on railway, and through Siemens only, because Siemens is a monopoly, kind of monopoly in locomotive. Siemens has traction motors, like ABB and Siemens only have these traction motors. If you remember, I spoken about ABB and Siemens into Titagar Wagons video also, and in Jupiter also, ki they have a kind of the know-how of making huge locomotives. And Alstom also is coming into the fray, but they are slightly junior to ABB and Siemens. So Siemens is rising very fast. So Siemens के कारण PT has grown. PT का now 40% is coming from locomotive, which is a welcome change for me. When I invested, it was around 25-30% from locomotive. Now it is 40%. So PT is rising on the back of Siemens. And even SGIL will do the same similarly, not Siemens, but indirectly through other Siemens and GE and Adani's and all. That's a business model, and they are also a foundry. But one thing is there, that PT has 2 things proven. One is their management. I like the management better than SGIL. I don't have that much sense of SGIL because I've not owned it and I've not seen much about them. And also PT has machining capability. So machining, PT machines, they are 70% of their product they make. That's why PT have a better margin. They will always have better margin. And if you would like to see, I'll show you the PT margins, how it has moved. So since I have not spoken about PT in depth also anywhere, So it would be a good idea for you guys to have a sense of PT also, because it's a competitor and a good company to follow. So PT का margin profile देखते हैं, which is kind of futuristic for SGIL. मतलब SGIL will someday behave like PT in terms of margin profile, because they SGIL is trying to do machining themselves. वो 30 करोड़ का कैपेक्स जो अभी करने वाले हैं वो मशीनिंग को लेके करने वाले हैं, which PT has already done. सो पीटी का मार्जिन प्रोफाइल देखते हैं तो पीटी वाज डूइंग 13% टिल 17, उसके बाद 15% का ब्रैकेट लिया उन्होंने, 15% 18 से लेकर के 22 तक, और अभी भी 15% ब्रैकेट पे हैं. सो दे हैव मेड दैट जंप फ्रॉम 12% bracket to 15%. So SGIL will also do take that jump. As I said, this is 380 crore पे they were making 15% margin. भाई same volume आप देखो तो टॉप लाइन वो 380 करोड़ आज अभी नहीं हुआ है SGIL का, 380 पे उनका 15% आया था. So obviously when you gain size then only you can dictate margins. So when you gain muscles कि नहीं मेरे पास बहुत client है, मैं 400 करोड़ का business कर रहा हूँ, then you can negotiate with your clients for higher margin and with a higher machining capability also. So this is the jump which this company is going to take, which PT has already taken. So and PT has a 4,000 crore, 2,800 crore market cap, while Synergy is just 1/4 of it, 470 crore. So around 1/4 in market cap, and debt and everything is similar. It's like debt to equity is 1.7 and they have 1.5 or something like that. So almost is a closer resemble very much with very alike to PT engineering. So that's the similarity with this. So let's talk about the performance PT versus SGIL, whatever be the business model. So PT has grown their top line by 13.5% for last 3 years, whereas this SGIL has grown this top line by 18%. So obviously they are smaller, so this is good that they are smaller and they are growing faster. Their PT has grown 15.75 EBITDA CAGR, while this company has grown 17%. This is also fine. So they are at least performance wise they are matching up with PT. Profit CAGR is 31% for PT. This is 54%. So again, so there are the operating leverage is getting played in SGIL in a better way than PT. So PT का क्या है कि PT is diversified, so they don't have a focused clientele. वो सब जगह है, वो पंप वाले को भी देते हैं, इसको भी देते हैं, बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्रीज को देते हैं, मतलब I mean automotive and everybody, automotive, wind, railway and industry, everybody they give order to. So कहीं ना कहीं पैट में कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाता है, बट दे आर सेफर इन वैल्यू चेन, सो दे आर सेफर. So let's talk about the growth drivers of this company. So I was talking about the Envision Energy, which is a major company and one of their client they are onboarding into. So I see, before I studied SGIL also, Envision was a company which was coming in my radar, because I was seeing Suzlon and Inox, and I know that these guys are technically, Suzlon is like at par, maybe at par with Envision, but in Inox is technically inferior. So obviously Envision, their product, which is Chinese company, but they domiciled into India in a way that they have manufacturing setup in India. So they are not Chinese strictly speaking. They have make in India approach. So what they are doing, it's interesting to note. This is a news article which they have done JV, not a MOU with Hero Future Energy, another serious player into wind, not serious, but another player into, let's say, wind energy. So they have done a framework agreement where they will supply WTG, wind turbine generator, and other technology including BESS and green hydrogen. Anyway, so what is that? They are setting up a manufacturing facilities for nacelles, hubs, blades, and a remote control center for wind projects. So basically Envision will set up an assembly. So this manufacturing, since Envision is an OEM, this is the original equipment manufacturer, so that's why they will give business to SGIL, and India has emerged as a strategic market for Envision, creating more than 2,000 jobs and all. They have found a ready market in India's onshore wind energy market. So I am saying that they are onboarding a client which is ready to take on India's demand. So Envision has successfully commissioned more than 690 megawatt of wind project in India, and they have 7.4 gigawatt of orders, which is a huge number. So in India में you will see the numbers. So India में एक साल में अभी last quarter was the peak performance. So peak performance में 1.7 gigawatt install हुआ था wind, which is the peak. All companies put together, and this guy have 7.4 gigawatt orders and highly successful models. So Envision is going to be a performer in this sector, which will beat others company hands down. To support this growth, the company has established an annual manufacturing capacity of 3 gigawatt for nacelle and hub in Pune and 2.5 gigawatt capacity for blade. So in Trichy, so they are expanding into two places, Trichy and Pune. So that's why they will need support in terms of supply of all these things. So SGIL will have a good say. So that's why they are onboarding this client. So that's and they are Envision is supplying to Hero and other company also. So Envision is not blacklisted companies. It's like everybody would buy from Envision, even though irrespective of their Chinese origin. I have an update to share with you, which just came around last week. Came that last quarterly numbers, as I said, was 328 crore. So it was a growth of 13%. During the year, EBITDA stood at 41 crore against 26 crore, so a decent growth of 53%. So margin has grown to 12.53. So as I said, this is jumping from 12 to 12.5, which is good. And PAT jumped from to 11.56 crore. Asset turnover increased from 1.5 to 1.7, and ROC doubled to 36%. So this is an indicator of management quality. ROIC or ROC, here ROC is closer to ROIC. So management quality is good, their capital allocation is good, that's why they are able to increase 36%. But it could be also due to their older assets, maybe उनका पुराना asset होगा जो अभी peak utilization के कारण ROC is looking good. But now this is the time testing would happen in just a couple of years, 1-2 years, जब उनका नया कैपेक्स आ रहा है वो कितना वो चर्न कर पाते हैं, that is a bigger question. So expansion activity में they have obtained necessary approval for land acquisition and title transfer is in progress. तो अभी land इनके हाथ में नहीं आया. This is as on May का मैं बता रहा हूँ. So this is a kind of delay because so that's why the project management expertise of company seems to be doubtful, but it is being aimed to complete foundry expansion and captive renewable capacity enhancement. तो हाँ, ये लोग ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि हम लोग एक अपने लिए भी विंड टर्बाइन बना लेते हैं जिससे कि हमारा कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा. तो मशीन शॉप कमिश्निंग इज लाइकली टू बी ड्यूरिंग Q1 ऑफ FY26. तो मशीनिंग शॉप्स, जो मशीनिंग की मैं बात कर रहा था जहाँ से इनका एबिटा मार्जिन एक्सपेंशन विल कम इन FY26 Q1. तो जो अभी तो 12.5 टाइप एबिटा ही रहेगा. नेक्स्ट ईयर इन FY26 I think they will go for that 15% kind of EBITDA margin. So that's the trajectory for EBITDA margin. But बीच में इनका ये project हो जाना चाहिए. That's the bigger concern for me. Order book for FY25 is 425 crore and requires around 30,000 MT production, जो कि इनकी capacity है. Small amount of production interruption is anticipated because of brownfield foundry expansion. वो वहीं पे नया project भी डाल रहे हैं. नया मतलब कि expand कर रहे हैं वो उसी same campus में. तो थोड़ा सा तो उसके कारण हिकअप होगा बिकॉज यू आर एक्सपेंडिंग ऑन योर सेम बॉडी. एडिशनल कैपेसिटी 30 to 45,000 would be available in fourth quarter. So all this factor revenue growth for FY25 is estimated to be 20 to 25%. So 20 to 25% revenue growth आएगा and margin would be around 13 if you ask me. So looks good to me. Reasonable stable raw material movement हो तो EBITDA margin is expected to expand, they are saying by 100 to 200 bips, यानी 12 से 13 के रेंज में आ जाएगा. रीज़न इज़ दैट रेवेन्यू ग्रोथ हो रहा है. दूसरा इंक्रीज इन एक्सपोर्ट रेवेन्यू शेयर फ्रॉम 11.5 to 25%. वहीं पे मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि either they are going to be a partner with Envision or company like Vestas or maybe I don't know which one they have in mind. So export potential is going to be good because global demand is also, and they are partnered with all non-Chinese global partner. Even Envision is Chinese, and Envision ki standing you can see in the global market is good. Currently Envision is number 2. So Envision was number 4 in FY22, but in number 2 in FY23. So from 8 to 14 crore. So it's like they have jumped around 60%, 70%. So Envision could be next Siemens for them. Little bit on the business margin. So raw material cost is roughly 43%. So as I was saying that machining takes around 10% of their cost structure is going to machining, towards machining. So machining is 10.5. So अगर machining वो in-house कर लेते हैं, so उन्होंने क्या किया कि in-house machining का वो 70 करोड़ का capex उन्होंने सोचा हुआ है, और अराउंड 150 करोड़ capex वो प्लान कर रहे हैं, उसमें 70 करोड़ वहाँ डालेंगे, तो वो FY26 में this cost will go down. एंड पावर में भी ये इन हाउस रिन्यूएबल लगा रहे हैं, तो वो भी कम हो जाएगा नेक्स्ट ईयर से. तो मार्जिन इज एस्टिमेटेड टू बी अराउंड 13%. मतलब FY नेक्स्ट ईयर में तो डेफिनेटली हो जाएगा, अभी 12.5 है, 13 के ऊपर आ जाएगा मार्जिन. तो वही मशीनिंग कॉस्ट कम होगा, पावर कॉस्ट कम होगा, एंड एबिटा मार्जिन एक्सपेंशन होगा बाई 4 to 6%, विच इज स्लाइटली एम्बिशियस, बट हाँ 15% मार्जिन तो ये 2 साल पर पहुँच जाएंगे. दैट्स माई गेसेस. So may not be 6%, but 3 to 4% expansion is possible for me. So looking at the global the wind installation trend in India, हालांकि this company is not just Indian, but India में उनका 50% तो India से ही आता है, more than 50%. So India की जो capacity, वही मैं I was giving you update already that if you see year wise capacity इंस्टॉल्ड विंड में लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में 500 मेगावाट यानी 5 गीगावाट वो एट पीक कैपेसिटी FY2017 में हो रहा था. नाउ वी आर नो वेयर क्लोजर टू इट. इन FY24 वी डिड 3 गीगावाट, FY23 2 point something we did. So अभी FY24 का लेटेस्ट नंबर है सेइंग दैट वी डिड 3 प्लस. भी विंड सेक्टर को इतना सपोर्ट मिला, उसके कारण ये सब हो रहा है, विच वी डिस्कस इन लास्ट टाइम व्हेन वी डिस्कस. सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू स्पेंड टाइम ऑन विंड सेक्टर बिकॉज वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस इन वन ऑफ आवर मीट्स. सो विंड सेक्टर आई एम ऑलरेडी बुलिश ऑन. YOY ग्रोथ इज लाइक FY22 में अराउंड 100% ग्रोथ हुआ, फिर 23 में 24 में grown by around 30%, and FY25 में expected to grow by 20-25%. अगर हम एक्चुअली क्वार्टर ऑन क्वार्टर देखते हैं तो अगेन सोलर प्लस विंड दोनों है, तो Q1 FY24 as I was saying that although solar has been the major thrust, but 1.15 gigawatt of wind was added. तो पिछले FY23 में तो बस टोटल मिला के 2.5 गीगावाट हुआ था. यहाँ पे आपने देखा था कि 23 में तो हमने 2 किया था, 23 में हमने 3 किया है, और उसके अगेंस्ट 1.15 एक क्वार्टर में ऐड हुआ है, एंड नेक्स्ट 2 क्वार्टर्स इज गोइंग टू बी अराउंड 1.75 गीगावाट. सो आप ये देख लो कि अब ये पूरे FY24 में ही 3 क्वार्टर में रफली 3 गीगावाट ऐड हो जाएगा, और नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर में 4th क्वार्टर में और ज़्यादा होगा. सो that's the deal that the sector is supposed to do well, and that is anticipated to do well. So that's all on wind and SGIL.
दोस्तों पहले मैं आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं बिकॉज आप लोगों के सपोर्ट के कारण हम लोगों ने अप्रैल में जब साधन प्रो और साधन प्राइम लॉन्च किया था, चैनल मेंबरशिप लॉन्च किया था, तो हमें पता नहीं था कि 300 से ज़्यादा लोग इतनी जल्दी आकर के जुड़ जाएंगे. इतने लोगों ने हमें प्यार दिया और इतने लोग हमें कंटिन्यूस सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक दोज 300 प्लस पीपल हु आर देयर इन आवर जर्नी टुगेदर. उन जो साधन प्रैक्टिशनर मेंबर्स हैं उनके लिए हमारा लर्निंग मॉड्यूल है learn.amitabhvatsya.com. वहाँ पे हमने जो लर्निंग मॉड्यूल शेयर किया हुआ है जो कि उन्हें एक बेटर इन्वेस्टर बनाता है, वो चीज़ें प्रैक्टिशनर मेंबरशिप के लिए एक्सक्लूसिव हैं, वो साधन प्रो और साधन प्राइम में अवेलेबल नहीं है. साथ ही साथ हमने एक टेलीग्राम कम्युनिटी डेवलप की हुई है जहाँ पे मेंबर्स आपस में इंटरैक्ट करते हैं. दे टेल अस व्हाट दे आर थिंकिंग, व्हाट इनसाइट दे हैव, और ऑब्वियसली मैं जब इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन लेता हूं तो मैं इंडस्ट्रीज़ के लोगों से उनकी इनपुट लेता हूं, और हमारी कम्युनिटी जो बढ़ती जा रही है उसमें बहुत सारे लोग वहां पे इनपुट देने के लिए मुझे मिलते जा रहे हैं. तो हमारी कम्युनिटी से एक म्यूचुअल लर्निंग वाला बेनिफिट मुझे भी मिल रहा है और पूरी कम्युनिटी ग्रो कर रही है. तो वो एक्सेस जो है वो सिर्फ साधन प्रैक्टिशनर मेंबरशिप के लिए है, वो एक्सेस साधन प्रो एंड साधन प्राइम में इंक्लूडेड नहीं है. देन टेक्नो इलेक्ट्रिक मैंने अप्रैल 2024 में जब डिटेल एनालिसिस किया था साधन प्राइम एंड प्रो के लिए, तो उसमें कोई भी अपडेट होता है, जब उन्होंने डेटा सेंटर स्टैब्लिश कर दिया तो मैं उनको अपडेट देता हूं कि वट एवर वी थॉट ऑफ इज द कंपनी इज परफॉर्मिंग एज पर आवर थीसिस. तो उसमें आपको जो इन्वेस्टर हैं अगर किसी ने वो स्टॉक खरीदा है तो उसको वो स्टॉक होल्ड करने की कैपेबिलिटी डेवलप हो जाती है। नॉलेज इज़ अ की एंड वी ट्राई टू डिसेमिनेट इट थ्रू कम्युनिटी पोस्ट ऑन यूट्यूब। वहीं प्रैक्टिशनर्स मेंबर के लिए तो टेलीग्राम पे ये लाइव मीडियम में जब भी मुझे कोई इंटरेस्टिंग लर्निंग मेरी लाइफ में होती है वो मैं शेयर करता हूँ, और कोई भी अपडेट होता है बिजनेस के बारे में वो जरूर मैं शेयर करता हूँ प्रैक्टिशनर मेंबर्स के साथ। ये सारी फीचर वाइज मैंने आपको इनके डिफरेंसेस बता दिए हैं। आई होप दिस वुड हैव क्लियर्ड मेनी ऑफ योर डाउट, एंड अगर अभी भी आपको कोई डाउट है तो प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द कमेंट। आई वुड बी मोस्ट हैप्पी टू आंसर दोज क्वेरीज।